It's a saying from thousands of years ago, written in a language called Latin, about a place called Rome, he explains. Panem et Circenses translates into bread and circuses. The writer was saying that in return for full bellies and entertainment, his people had given up their political responsibilities and therefore their power. I think about the capital, the excess of food, and the ultimate entertainment, the Hunger Games. So that's what the districts are for, to provide the bread and circuses. Bonjour mon petit chifleur, Amber here, and happy Hunger Games. It's so funny to me that I actually started filming this video in the spring, I think April, and here we are in November in what I have dubbed Hunger Games month, and you're finally getting it. That wasn't my intention, but I guess that's what it was meant to be. Hello. So when we went into full lockdown, full pandemic mode, I, like almost everyone else, decided to try my hand at bread. Not necessarily because I was afraid we were going to run out of bread, but mostly because all of this bread making reminded me of one person and one person only. Our sweet boy, Peeta Mellark. The baker's boy. The boy with the bread. One half of the star-crossed lovers of District 12. Can you tell that I'm rereading the Hunger Games right now for the 11th time? So I decided, because one, I wasn't really in the headspace to film very chatty, structured videos, I said it'd be really fun to try my hand, one, at bread baking. I love to bake, but I've never tried bread besides like biscuits. Have I ever made biscuits? No. I've just watched my mom do it. Anyway, so try my hand at baking something new, distract myself from like everything going on. There's a yeast shortage, so at one point I tried to make my own yeast. Didn't really go well, but also wanted to like sort of pay homage to my favorite series, obviously, as always, and decided that it would be fun not just to make bread, but to make Hunger Games inspired bread. So to pick a few of the breads mentioned in this throughout the series, because there are a lot, and produce them for you. So in this video I go through 4 different breads from 3 different districts. Welcome to Panem et Circenses. I don't speak Latin. Look what I shot. Gail holds up a loaf of bread with an arrow stuck in it, and I laugh. It's real bakery bread, not the flat, dense loaves we make from our grain rations. I take it in my hands, pull out the arrow, and hold the puncture in the crust to my nose, inhaling the fragrance that makes my mouth flood with saliva. So for our first bread, we are starting obviously in District 12. Where else? So for this one, I actually decided to make biscuits. I know here it mentions loaves of bread, but then on page 113, it says, one day Peeta empties our bread basket and points out how they've been careful to include types from the districts along with the refined bread from the capital. The fish-shaped loaves tinted green with seaweed from District 4, the crescent moon roll dotted with seeds from District 11. Somehow, although it's made from the same stuff, it looks more appetizing than the ugly drop biscuits that are standard fare at home. So because of that, I decided to make ugly drop biscuits. And because Tesserae is like a grain ration, I went with darker wheat flour for most of the breads actually. So here we have bread number 1, our District 12 parsley and basil drop biscuits. I open the parachute and find a small loaf of bread. It's not the fine white capital stuff. It's made of dark ration grain and shaped in a crescent. Sprinkled with seeds, I flash back to Peeta's lesson on the various district breads in the training center. This bread came from District 11. I cautiously lift the still warm loaf. What must it have cost the people of District 11 who can't even feed themselves? How many would have had to do without to scrape up a coin to put in the collection for this one loaf? It must have been meant for Rue, surely, but instead of pulling the gift when she died, R.I.P., they'd authorized Hamish to give it to me. As a thank you, or because, like me, they don't like to let debts go unpaid. For whatever reason, this is a first, a district gift to a tribute who's not your own. Our next bread is in honor of our sweet little Rue, who did not deserve the hand that she had been dealt. For this one, obviously, like I mentioned, we're doing dark honey crescent rolls, but instead of, or crescent bread, but instead of like seeds on the top, I kind of, because she mentioned that it was like dark brown bread, I wanted to try my hand at homemade honey wheat bread, like the kind you get at Cheesecake Factory, because God knows when I'll be allowed in a Cheesecake Factory again. Rise at all? your mouth. That's salty. Does not taste like Cheesecake Factory bread. Butter. It's a lot of butter. Butter definitely helps.
I like it.
It's fine. It's just not what I want it to be. By the time we pull ourselves together, I'm thinking that maybe Finnick Odair is alright. At least not as vain or self-important as I'd thought. Not so bad at all, really. And just as I've come to this conclusion, a parachute lands next to us with a fresh loaf of bread. Remembering from last year how Hamish's gifts are often timed to send a message, I make a note to myself. Be friends with Finnick. You'll get food. Finnick turns the bread over in his hands, examining the crust, a bit too possessively. It's not necessary. It's got that green tint from seaweed that the bread from District 4 always has. We all know it's his. Maybe he's just realized how precious it is, and that he may never see another loaf again. Maybe some memory of Mags is associated with the crust. But all he says is, this will go well with the shellfish. Now, did we think I was going to do anything Hunger Games related and not dedicate something to Finnick Odair? My brave, beautiful Finnick Odair. You clearly don't know me. I have this man's trident tattooed on me for the rest of my life. So, in this section, we step out of my comfort zone. I don't think I've ever really had seaweed anything, not even seaweed snacks, but they came in handy today. So, I present you with our District 4 salty seaweed bread. They're supposed to look like fish, but they look like turkeys. The recipe I use, that's good, is like a rosemary bread. I don't know. They look like turkeys. Never forget when my seaweed bread looked like turkeys. It was good. It was one of my favorites. Suddenly a voice was screaming at me. I looked up to see the baker's wife, telling me to move on, and did I want her to call the peacekeepers, and how sick she was of having those brats from the seam pawing through her trash. The words were ugly and I had no defense. As I carefully replaced the lid and backed away, I noticed him. A boy with blonde hair peering out from behind his mother's back. Feet sloshed toward me through the mud, and I thought, it's her. She's coming to drive me away with a stick. But it wasn't her. It was the boy. In his arms he carried 2 loaves of bread that must have fallen into the fire because the crusts were scorched black. His mother was yelling, "Feed it to the pig, you stupid creature. Why not? No one decent will buy burned bread." He began to tear off chunks from the burned parts and toss them into the trough, and the front bakery bell rung and the mother disappeared to help a customer. The boy never even glanced my way, but I was watching him because of the bread. The boy took one look at the bakery as if checking that the coast was clear, then his attention back on the pig, he threw the loaf of bread in my direction. The second quickly followed, and he sloshed back to the bakery, closing the kitchen door tightly behind him. I stared at the loaves in disbelief. They were fine, really, except for the burned areas. Did he mean for me to have them? He must have, because there they were at my feet. Before anyone could witness what had happened, I shoved the loaves up under my shirt, wrapped the hunting jacket tightly around me, and walked swiftly away. The heat of the bread burned into my skin, but I clutched it tighter, clinging to life. By the time I reached home, the loaves had cooled somewhat, but the insides were still warm. When I dropped them on the table, Prim's hands reached to tear off a chunk, but I made her sit, forced my mother to join us at the table, and poured warm tea. I scraped off the black stuff and sliced the bread. We ate an entire loaf, slice by slice. It was good, hearty bread filled with raisins and nuts. To this day, I can never shake the connection between this boy, Peeta Mellark, and the bread that gave me hope, and the dandelion that reminded me that I was not doomed. And more than once, I have turned in the school hallway and caught his eyes trained on me, only to quickly flit away. So last but not least, our grand finale to our Hunger Games bread excursion obviously is the bread that started it all. The bread that made this story what it was. The bread that gave her hope. The dandelion in the spring, which is also a part of my Hunger Games tattoo. I wanted to have a way to honor penis. I shouldn't put that in the bread video. Everlark. There it is. But anyway, so for our grand finale, we have unburnt nut and raisin loaves. raisin. Some warm with butter.
I have to say, this is the best.
Even better than the seaweed bread.
Seaweed is just a little slight below this. Maybe the raisin.
It's the raisin. I wonder what would have happened if I added just a touch more cinnamon. So, that's a lot of bread. I love bread a lot. I love bread. Sorry, this was a lot of fun. This took a lot longer than I thought it would, but it was a lot of fun. I love the Hunger Games with my whole heart. I love bread with my whole heart. And all of the characters and districts represented, I love with my whole heart and deserve so much better. And honestly, after doing this, I'd love this to continue, not necessarily with the Hunger Games, even though I kind of think it would be cool. I've done bread, but I think it'd be cool to do other like meals and desserts mentioned throughout the series. I did want to do Peeta's the cheese buns, but I haven't had cheese in over a year, so I don't know how that would work unless I had someone else try it for me. But I want to kind of do a series like Bookish Bake series maybe. I think that would be cool to go through other Hunger Games meals like the soups mentioned, or I don't see myself like cooking a whole burnt chicken with like, what is it, the orange sauce, but maybe soup. I might do soup or like, I think, what is it, like a pear tart is mentioned somewhere. I might do that. But also like I would like to go through other books or series and do desserts or meals or foods mentioned throughout the series, or even drinks. So leave me some suggestions below. I think I kind of want to do the David series next. So yeah, this was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you like me and you know, want to see more Hunger Games content, because I'm sure there will be more, feel free to subscribe. All my places are down here so you can follow me, and I'll follow you back. And I'll see you very soon.